My name is Mitch Lortz. I'm here from Everbridge Nixle. Thank you all for registering and attending this webinar, Running an Effective Active Shooter Training Drill with Everbridge Nixle. So I just want to introduce our speakers. First, we have Todd Harmeson, who is the Deputy Director and PIO over at Madison County Emergency Management. And also our other speaker is Scott Benoit, who is the Senior Director of Product Management here at Everbridge. So Todd, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Madison County, Indiana, we're located just northeast of downtown Indianapolis. 130,000 people, 468 square miles, and public safety for us is obviously it's a big thing, but with a county that size, it is important, and also being a metro area of Indianapolis. So I've been in emergency services for about 30 years, and during that time, all of that's been with emergency management. And then I dabbled a little bit outside of law enforcement, fire, and the reason being is so that I had a good understanding of all the facets of public safety because all the agencies have to work together so well. So it's very important to us. Also in December, we just opened up our new 911 center, which is the Emergency Operations Center on one side and the 911 center of the county on the other. And that is very important to us because now that even expands our Nixle abilities that much more. So our goal is at some point is to look at dispatch supervisors having the ability to send out information as well as the emergency management staff, just providing us that much more coverage. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and take you through a little bit on the next slide about some of the challenges with our alert and notification system that we had. In 2014, we were using the free Nixle service to post public relations information out there to the public. And just like every jurisdiction, we went through the struggles of sirens and how do you notify people inside their houses, educating the public that, yes, the siren doesn't work inside every home and it's not intended to do so. But in order to really make our system more robust, we started looking for a alert notification system that could go above and beyond where we were at that time. It made sense because we were already with Nixle using the free side of it to just expand and go to the all encompassing alert and notifications for text, email, as well as the phone dialing system, which we utilize in Madison County during imminent life-threatening situations. So we did that, and looking at Nixle, they were the best provider for us from a not only cost, but to myself, we're a very small emergency management staff. We have a director, the deputy director, an administrator, or an admin, and the rest of our staff is volunteer. So we wanted a system that was very point and click, easy to use for our volunteers that may set it off, once, maybe twice a year at the most. For those folks, I use it on a regular basis. Our director uses it. We use it, some of our department heads do, but some of the other line folks might not use it that often. So it needed to be something that was point and click. And we also like the fact that we have a very strong social media program here in our community. We have, I don't know the exact number, somewhere around 12,000 followers on Facebook, and on our Twitter account, 2,000 or 3,000 folks out there that follow us regularly. So we wanted a system that when we posted a press release or some sort of alert and notification, that we could simultaneously put it up on social media, which Nixle does for us. And we have our Nixle broadcasts are posted to our website as well. And you can see at the bottom of the page there, MadisonCoEMA.org is our agency website. Next slide. So we needed a system that would push out National Weather Service alerts. I don't know about you guys, but when a severe storm comes out, a severe storm warning, there's many other things that our staff needs to be worried about as opposed to keying in that information to get it pushed out. Not to mention, when the tornado warning comes out at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm dead asleep, I want that system to already push it out to the folks in my community and my county again, because I'm trying to get up and get to the Emergency Operations Center and do the duties that we need to do. And also for press releases. So much of what we do in emergency management is preparedness, getting that information out. I just posted the other day some preparedness information about advance of severe weather. It was an ice storm potential coming. So we wanted to get information out to the public. We use it for meeting announcements with private groups. Private groups for us is very strong to notify some of our special divisions within law enforcement, police chiefs, fire chiefs. We have a PIO work group that if we have an incident and we need to notify all of the public, not all agencies have PIOs, but all of the PIOs that work together, I can push it out through Nixle, as well as a specific group for media. So I can tag that, and it's plugged with all of their email addresses of all of the main news feeds in my area, which, because we are so close to Indianapolis, I mean, we have NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, many print news media, as well as radio stations as well. So it is important to have that. And we believe that using it on a regular basis to send out those meeting announcements, reminders, and text alerts, that keeps our staff honed in on the skills that when they need to send out a life-threatening emergency, they know how to access Nixle and they're familiar with it, and we believe that's very important. So next slide. We're talking about running an active shooter exercise. And within Madison County, we have Anderson University. Anderson University is a Christian-based private university with about 2,300 students, so it's not real large. But because of we'll say the media attention and just the hype that the university has received, not only in central Indiana, but around the country, the president of the university, as you see there on the slide, a 30-plus year federal law enforcement member from the FBI, who was a special agent in charge of the counterterrorism program after 9/11. And then he headed the TSA up in 2010 before he retired and came to Anderson University. That's good and that's bad. It's great for public safety. You know, we have a university president that is directly tied to emergency preparedness. The downside of it is whenever there's an act of terrorism or significant event that occurs in the world, the news media calls President Pistolet and asks him for his comment. And sure enough, there he is on national television at a Christian-based university telling about, you know, we should arrest, we need to move in, we need to take over terrorism and do these things that law enforcement does. That puts Anderson University on the map globally. We also have had several other events at our university where very high government officials, because of our university president, have come there, which again makes high probability or high possibility of being a target. So earlier in 2016, we conducted a full-scale active shooter training program, and when the exercise committee came together, one of the biggest problems or biggest threats that they thought about on the next slide was, how do we notify the community? How do we notify the public? How do we make sure that we don't have a citizen that there's a shooter on campus, they grab their handgun, they grab their rifle, and they're going to save the day? Or, realistically, an off-duty law enforcement officer from out of town driving by the university sees it, hears it on his radio, and decides, hey, I'm going to jump in and help. So we determined that one of the biggest things that Public Affairs Division needed to be responsible for was getting the word out ahead of time. How could we communicate to the public, not only the whole city of Anderson, Madison County, central Indiana, but we needed to target a specific area immediately around the university. And at first I was not part of the exercise committee. The director was for our agency. And he came back and he was telling me about this, and he said, Todd, can Nixle help us with this? Can you and your PIO working group take care of this piece for us? I said, yeah, we can. That's exactly what Nixle is all about. It is, I can, drawing polygons around a specific target and focusing your notifications in a specific geographic area. I said, that's exactly what we'll do. So the PIOs got together with the university, and I want everyone to realize, too, that when it's a fire, when it's an accident, when it's a tornado, I can proudly say I've earned a lot of trust in my community that I have the leniency to put out a press release as I deem necessary. And I really do it without very minimal oversight from the commissioners, the mayors. I've earned that. I've built that trust with them. This was new to me. Now we're working on something at a private facility, and the university was very much in tune to what was going to be said, who was going to say it, how it was going to be said, because it impacts their enrollment. It impacts how the university is viewed in the community, the staff, the faculty. There was a lot of things. So our work group came together, and every press release that we put out, every audio message that we recorded for the auto dialer system to send out had to be approved by the university staff ahead of time. And it was essential that we had this working group that met and followed the schedule that's here on the screen. So 6 days in advance, we sent out a press release to the media using Nixle, just saying on such and such date and time, the university and local public safety would be participating in this active shooter training. These roads will be closed, and this will be the impact to the community. That was 6 days out. Now we move down to 3 days in advance. Now we're down to when we've got to make sure the word is getting out. So we posted, again, another press release. It was posted to our social media. Now, I told you about 10,000 followers on Facebook. Any given significant event, that post gets multiplied over and over and over again as the community shares it with friends and family, to the point that thousands of people see our Nixle post via social media, and that's critical. 2 days in advance of the exercise, we sent out again. Now we did email and text to the community and all of the subscribers that we had that were in the city of Anderson. 1 day in advance, we started using the voice calling system. And we had a pre-canned script that we had recorded, and all of this was preloaded into Nixle with time and date stamps of when we wanted it to trigger. So I didn't have to be sitting at my computer. I didn't have to be sitting there when I had plenty of other things to do to plan and prepare for the exercise. Once the scripts were approved, we preloaded all of that information into Nixle, and it just went off seamlessly, without us even really, with minimal user intervention whatsoever from the point when it was recorded and loaded in the system. The day of the exercise, every house in the perimeter got a phone call at the beginning of the exercise, and just as important, when the exercise was over, we sent out a post-exercise call telling everyone the exercise is over. What we certainly didn't want to have happen is something in real life happen an hour, 2 hours after the exercise, and everybody thinks, oh, it's okay, it's just part of their training they're doing. And in fact, it might not have been. So that was very important to the exercise committee, was they wanted us to make sure the citizens, the students, the faculty, everybody was aware when the exercise was complete. That should, unlikely, but should something happen, they knew that it was not part of our exercise. On the next slide, you'll see where we utilize the calling system with the polygon and geographic filtering. We were able to draw a filter around the university and notify all of the landline telephones in that area about the exercise. We still use that to this day. We've saved that polygon or that geographic filter so that we can use it in the event of the scenario playing out at the university. Certainly we all pray that it never does, but if it were to play out, we have that filter already in the system that I know I can click on it, put my message in, and hit send, and I don't have to worry about drawing it out when time is of the essence at that point. On the next slide, during the event at the university, We activated a joint information center, which was critical to make sure that all the messages were concise and were approved and were consistent with the message that we wanted to go out. We actually did not send out messages during the exercise, but what we did was we typed everything in, we keyed it in, we printed, and we saved it so that we had, at the end of the exercise, we had a spreadsheet that actually showed what agency, who the user was, the time, the date stamp, and what the message was being sent out. And we critiqued that. And when I say we critiqued it, we went through and we had several meetings and we detailed every statement. Because there was, you see here, there was 2 university staff members in the JIC, 3 EMA PIOs, 2 law enforcement, 2 fire, and then there was some support folks in there. So anytime you have 9 people putting out press releases and information, consistency is critical. And the public needs consistency. If we were to have said something that contradicted what another agency or the university was saying, we lose credibility with the citizens, and then that just opens up a whole nother PIO nightmare that we didn't want to get into. If you guys will click a couple times there, it'll give us Anderson University played an active role in reviewing, again, every one of the press releases that came out, and the draft messages were pretend. After the exercise, then we collected all of this information. We still have it today in a binder that we can go back to and we can look at as we've made plans and we've made changes. Activating a JIC in all my years of law enforcement and emergency management is not something we've done very often. And so at the end, the university was just writing page after page of notes of what kind of hardware and equipment did they need in the JIC. And the very first thing we all said was robust internet, so that we can get on the network to put out the Nixle alerts without bogging down our computers if there's a slow response, slow internet connection, because we needed to monitor Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. During the exercise, we were monitoring all of the social media outlets to make sure some student didn't post active shooter at the university and forget to say that it was a training exercise. So we were doing that. Just a couple more other little side notes to go with this. If you click to the next slide, we utilize the mobile app, the Engage Bridge. I have it on my phone. It's on my iPad. I do not leave home without my phone and my iPad. As a public information officer, I always jokingly say, the severe weather or the incident doesn't occur Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. when I'm sitting there ready for it. It happens at 6:30 when I'm driving to dinner, or at 7:30 I'm at the ball game watching my son play sports, and I can't say, sorry, director, sorry, citizens, I wasn't prepared, I was watching a ball game. So I carry my iPad with me. I believe that the Engage Bridge app that was created is priceless, because the time it takes me to boot up a computer, log in, and do that if I'm on the road. If I'm in my office, my login is up all the time on Nixle. But if I'm on the road, I can flip open my iPad, click an app, punch in my password, and within 30 seconds, I can be typing in, keying in a quick message to get out to the citizens through text and through text to email to get it out. On the next slide, again, we just talked about that. These scenarios, these incidents don't occur when you are ready. You're always ready, but you're not sitting there ready for something to happen. On a fun note, over the holiday season, I'll just add this for Nixle, as kudos to the team and the robust system that they have. On my own, my family and I, we vacationed in Cozumel, took a cruise. I had internet while I was there, and just for fun one day, I brought up my iPad, went into the app, and I sent out a private message to the EOC team. And all the message was testing from Cozumel, hope the weather in Indiana is great, 82 degrees and sunny, Merry Christmas. It was just for fun, I did that. But the reason I did it was I wanted to see how well did the system respond from international waters? And it's just like as if I was sitting in my house or in my office in Madison County. I hit the send button, and within seconds, I had the alert coming across my phone that some guy was rubbing it in, that he was in Cozumel and the rest of the team wasn't. So it was very good. I was super excited to see that. I share that with everyone because, again, these incidents occur when we least expect it, and we have to be prepared no matter where we're at. And I have the understanding, and I trust the Nixle Everbridge system to know that I can access it no matter where I'm at in the world at any given time to get the message out to the citizens of Madison County, Indiana. With that, that's what I had today. I certainly would encourage, if there's any questions, on the next screen is my contact information. If anybody would like to reach out to me by email or by Twitter, any one of those, feel free to. I would certainly talk to anyone and give my recommendation of how we've utilized the Nixle Everbridge system in our everyday lives and to save the lives of the residents and citizens of Madison County, Indiana. So with that, guys, I'll turn it back over to the Everbridge staff.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. That was great. We're going to turn it over to Scott Benoit now, who's going to give us a little talk about the Nixle system itself. Scott, you can begin.
Great, thanks, Mitch. Can you just confirm that you can see my screen okay?
Yep, that's great.
Great. Okay, thank you, Deputy Harmeson. That was a great use case. And, you know, I'll say the term community engagement pretty frequently here, but Nixle is what we consider a community engagement tool. And I think, you know, from the deputy, there were some good examples of how you can communicate using the system with location-based communities. So if you have people in a particular zip code or within the entire county, you can notify them with the system. We also consider interest-based communities. So for example, let's say you have a jazz festival coming up in your local park. It's happening in your community, but the people who are entering into the community might not actually live in your community. So Nixle does have a solution for getting opt-ins that are interested in a particular event to opt into your system. And then lastly, digital communities. Again, a great use case from the deputy. You may have Facebook followers and Twitter followers who do not live in your community. Maybe they live outside of the community. Maybe there's peers of yours professionally that are monitoring to see how you're doing on social media, for example. So Nixle really allows you to tap into all of these communities. And I think another thing that the deputy mentioned that I think is really, really critically important with the system, and this is a challenge that I hear in talking to a lot of you know, emergency managers, PIOs, is how do we get users to opt into this system? So Nixle has really tried to spend a lot of effort on cracking the code on getting residents to opt in. But one thing that we see, undoubtedly, that really, really helps drive opt-in numbers is if you're using the system, do not treat it as just that emergency notification tool that you dust off the shelf once or twice a year. If you have information to send out to your residents, we really advise that you send it out on a frequent basis. And what this really does is it gives your residents a chance to share your notifications. So Nixle offers tools for your residents to share them across their social networks, right? And as that content spreads, more users begin opting in to receive your messages. And this is how we see resident opt-in databases grow over time. I'm sure we're all aware that the traditional 911 information offered by yellow and white page providers, those numbers are dwindling. So we do offer very, very easy registration tools. And again, we view this as being critically important to your success in getting a lot of residents opted in to receive your notification. So how do we do this? So two primary tools. And I'll go into this one a bit more. But residents can text their zip code to 888-777. So the second way is over Nixle.com. We do offer a registration path for web registration. But let's talk a little bit about the mobile zip code opt-in, because we've seen fantastic results from this portion of our service. But this is really easy. So a resident can simply text their zip code. So this is in a standard text messaging format. They text their zip code to 888-777, which is the Nixle dedicated short code. And for anyone who may not be registered to the service, I would urge you to do so you can kind of see it in action. But the idea here is, let's make it very easy for residents, right? And once they do this, there's actually a pretty powerful system that we've developed to make sure that all of the agencies that serve this zip code can benefit from the opt-in. So what we do is this. So 91016 is actually my zip code here in Southern California. Now, if I was to text 91016 to 888-777, again, from a resident's perspective, I'm opting into all of the agencies that serve this jurisdiction, right? So it's a very powerful concept. I'm not on Twitter opting into one agency at a time, or on Facebook liking one agency at a time. I'm performing one action, and I'm opting in to receive all of the public safety information that impacts my community. All right, so just as an example, by texting this zip code in, I would be registered to my local police department, my local fire department, both of which are our Nixle customers. The Arcadia Police Department, it's actually a neighboring agency, and the zip code happens to overlap with their jurisdiction slightly. And then, of course, the LA County Sheriff is using Nixle as well, and they have jurisdiction over this zip code because it does fall within the county, right? So you can imagine, and so this concept of a shared database is what we call the Nixle wire. So this is the database that we maintain for your agency, right? Any zip code subscription goes directly into this group of users. And so again, these 4 agencies would have access. So let's say in this case there are 1,000 users in 91016. All 4 agencies in this case can target these 1,000 users. Now let's imagine a 5th agency starts using the service tomorrow, and that agency can also send messages to 91016, right? That zip code falls within their jurisdiction. That agency that starts tomorrow will have immediate access to this 1,000 users. They will not be starting at 0. They will start immediately with a built-in opt-in base to immediately begin messaging. Now, for anyone who's just kind of seeing this for the first time, I always love when agencies call up our account team and say, hey, I understand there might be some users that are already in my community that are waiting to receive messages. We can actually look very quickly to see, hey, you might already have 1,000 users that are signed up to receive your messages. And this is, again, a very important concept, and this is why it's so powerful to rely on the Nixle network, right? So I'm going to overlay all of the Nixle agencies in the country. So what this really represents is, if there are neighboring agencies using Nixle already and you do not have the service, their opt-ins will be available to you when you begin messaging. Right? So again, I would urge you to reach out, find out how many opt-ins are already in your community. You might be really surprised. So that's the zip code opt-in. That's how we urge agencies to reach out to their community. There's their location-based communities. But what if you have something coming up in a local park where people are coming in from out of town, maybe out of state? The same kind of mobile SMS opt-in functionality, we offer a similar solution for these event-based groups. So the idea is, let's say you have a jazz festival coming up in the local park. You could set up a mobile keyword for jazz festival. You could publicize that keyword. The call to action to your residents would be text Jazz Festival to 888-777, and now all of those opt-ins are going into a very specific group, right? In this use case, you're not sharing those users with other agencies in any way. It's really an event-based subscription. And that takes us to a recent use case out of the state of Florida, just to show the power of the mobile keywords. So this happened, I believe, in late September, or excuse me, it was the first week of October. Hurricane Matthew was heading towards the southern tip of Florida. Governor Scott in Florida went on there was a media blitz getting out this call to action: text FL prepares to 888-777. So this is just an example of a tweet that went out from the Florida CERT team. The governor was on TV. There was a lot of local media pickup. At the end of the day, this call to action really got out there, and what we saw was pretty great. So in the course of about 28 hours, we had about 362,000 opt-ins to FL prepares. Right, so that's 362,000 residents texted FL prepares to 888-777 in a very short amount of time. And you can imagine that obviously gives the governor a direct connection to residents. Now, the CERT team was sending out evacuation notices. They were sending out, just updates on the storm's trajectory. So a lot of great information was going out via this community engagement tool. So again, we saw, so just in this use case in particular, we saw about 362,000 opt-ins, sent almost 6 million SMS messages in the course of a week. That's not unheard of on the Nixle system. The system is battle tested, very resilient, scalable, etc. And then we also get a lot of web traffic. So once you publish a message out, a web page is created, and you'll notice here, these are the actual text messages that were going out to residents. They include a link that a resident can click on and go view the full set of information on a web page. Now lastly, and I will jump over to the live site to give everyone kind of a demo of the ease of use. And the deputy also mentioned Everbridge, but this is the Nixle mobile publishing app. We understand that our users are they're on the move. They're at the at the site of an accident, at the site of breaking news. They need to be able to communicate from the field. So the Nixle Everbridge mobile application really just allows you to very easily target a group of users and send the message out. So I'll actually demo that as well. And so from here, let me actually jump over to the live site. And we zoom in a little bit. So this is the initial login screen when you get to Nixle. And again, we really pride ourselves on being an easy-to-use system. We have a really good sense of our users. We understand what they are trying to do when they log into the system. And we've really optimized this service for our customers. So a good example of that is our message center. So you'll see here, this is a notification page. So this is where you would actually generate messages. And it's a pretty streamlined form. You can select the message type. You're only really required to send an SMS message and to select a group. That's all you're really required to do here, right? But as you get familiar with the service and really understand its power, this form is actually capable of doing a lot more than you see here. But the reason it's so streamlined is we know that our agencies send medium priority messages mostly. They only want to send an SMS message, and they only want to target this Nixle wire group, right? So it's very streamlined to do exactly what our customers normally do when they send a message. Now you'll see there are other options. These are not required, but you can target by geography, right? You can draw these custom polygons if you want to target residents in a very particular, very specific polygon. We have a point and radius tool. If you want to say, you know what, I want everybody in a 5-mile radius or a half-mile radius to receive this message. We have another option where you can actually just input a city name or a zip code if you want to target that way. The deputy also mentioned that he was scheduling messages. So again, our default here is to send the message now, but you can also schedule this for future delivery. You know, if you want something to go out to either your residents or maybe an internal group first thing in the morning, you can set that up to send. Message expiration, right? So there's a lot of settings here. You can send it to Twitter, you can send this message to Facebook. So this is a very, very powerful form that we try and make easy to use. Now, another thing that I'll mention is if you are to send an alert, right? And Nixle is very specific about what we suggest that you label an alert. We are very conscious of alert fatigue, right? So if your agency is sending out too many high priority messages, the likelihood of your residents opting out goes up greatly. But the idea is if you select an alert, we are CAP compliant, C-A-P, right? So we will ask you to say, what kind of event is this? It's a law enforcement category. It might be a traffic emergency. You can specify the severity, urgency, and certainty. You can enter an email and web message, right? So you have full control over the styling of your email messages. And you'll quickly see that this form, which is very basic, very easy to use, can become very robust. So a lot of options to customize your message, to control which channels your message goes out to. And as you work your way down the page, you can see there's even more options to customize this message. You know, is this event occurring at a very particular location? You can enter that here, and a map will come through to your residents. If you have a voice message to send out, we allow you to record your message, use text-to-speech, or upload a WAV file. We are integrated with iPause, specifically WEA, the Wireless Emergency Alert System, and then EAS, which is Emergency Alerting Service, which is, I'm sure we're all familiar with the scrolling banners on your TV or roadside signage. So again, very easy to use. We do support multi-channel notifications, connection to your Facebook and Twitter accounts, and again, we're just trying to make this very easy to use. Now, in terms of the groups, I touched on the Nixle Wire group. So again, this is that default group of users that people opt into when they opt into a zip code. But you can also create your own custom groups, right? If you have this jazz festival coming up, so here's my jazz festival group. I can create a keyword. Let's say it's called Jazz Fest 17. I'll save this. Now, anybody who texts Jazz Fest 17 to 888-777 will automatically be opted into this group. All right, so it's really that easy. Now, there are other ways to get users into a group. So you can upload contacts, you can import contacts, but this is really the easiest way that we've found. Agencies, have just done a great job getting these keyword call to actions out to the residents, getting people to opt in. And the last thing I'll touch on here, and again, this is it looks like a simple system. There are a lot of there's a lot of functionality here that I would urge you to reach out and schedule a full demo if you'd like to learn more about some of these features. But the other service here that we offer is anonymous tipping. So your residents can supply tips via SMS and a web form. Those messages will go directly into this account of yours, and then you can actually keep that two-way interaction open with your residents. So it's a powerful system. It's proved. We've seen a lot of great success stories because of this service. Now, the last thing that I'll mention here is the mobile application. So this is EngageBridge. So I've logged in, and just to give you a quick idea of how easy it is to publish, we have a few primary publishing options here. We have quick message, which I'll select now, and just as easy as sending a tweet, you can type this message out, and we will automatically send it to your Nixle Wire users via SMS. Right. So again, having that really solid understanding of how our users are leveraging the system, we know that in order to send a very quick message, just need to target that Nixle wire group via SMS. Now, if you want to apply more filtering and targeting, you can do that absolutely. So from the advanced message flow, you can say I want to send SMS, I want to send an email. So I'll leave this as an advisory for now. So as I go through, I'm first asked to enter my SMS and then my email. And you'll notice here I can attach an image. I can actually set my location incident. So if something, again, is occurring at a very particular location, I can include that. And then I have a few targeting options. So I can actually geo-target. And for this, let's say custom area. And you'll see that this polygon in blue, this represents the jurisdiction of my agency. So I can actually, so I'm just tapping on my screen now, and it's just drawing a polygon for me. So I would essentially target all of the users within that polygon. Now if I click preview, very streamlined view of what message would be going out if I were to hit send. And that's it. That's, again, we wanted to keep this very, very simple. There's options to draw your point and radius here. If you want to target by a radius, you can do that. So again, very, very easy to use. So with that, Mike, I would like to turn it back over to you, and happy to answer, I guess, any questions on the Nixle service in general, or any interface questions that there might be.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. That was great. So we're going to go ahead and answer some questions now. The first question is actually for you, Todd.
Hey.
So can you actually elaborate on the event itself in a little more detail? So who did you notify during the event? What were some of the messages you sent? How did it go? That sort of thing.
Sure. As soon as the call went in and was received, put out on the police band radios for law enforcement of the event, we sent out a Nixle alert saying there was an incident at the university, and students should remain in the facility where they're at. So basically, we just told everybody to lock down. Secondly to that, just immediately after that message went out, then I sent out a message to police chiefs and fire chiefs telling them that there was, obviously it started out test message exercise, but the message was, check in on radio, monitor for an active shooter situation at the school. And then as the event progressed, we used Nixle then to send out, we would have sent out to the public messages about the suspect was in custody, and we were continuing, the university was still on lockdown, continuing to sweep the university to ensure the safety of the students and the faculty members. We did put out a message about what roads around the university were closed, as well as a message going out with hospital contact information on it. Because of being a university, our students are literally from around the world there. And so we were giving contact information from the district hospitals of parents and loved ones of how they could get information if they believed that they had a student or a member of their family that had been transported. We didn't go as far as actually, like I said, putting those messages out just because we did not want to, number one, divulge what information we would have been putting out there if, a student or someone was watching and thinking about doing some horrific event like that. But at the same time, we did not want anything to go out that would have been perceived as, somebody accidentally forgot to say exercise or training. We sent out the initial alert. We sent out a heads up to all police chiefs. We sent out information about the road closures, hospital contact information. We sent out the suspect in custody, and then finally the all clear message went out as well. This exercise was confined to a single building during the exercise planning, so everyone knew that's where the suspect was going to be, and they did that for time purposes. We've had incidents in the neighboring jurisdiction of Delaware County where Ball State University is, and they literally spent the entire day sweeping the campus, and for the exercise, we did not want to expound upon it that much and tie up resources for an entire day. So we did keep it confined to one specific building.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. The next question we have is for Scott. So how was the landline list of telephone numbers gathered from the local telephone provider? It says their local telephone provider will not release the information, citing privacy issues. So how do you overcome this obstacle?
So we have an implementation team. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a little echo. So there's a few sources. So for emergency messaging, as far as I know, they are required under state law to release that information. Now, yellow page and white page data is available for distribution, and I think users can opt out of that. But in terms of sending emergency notification, I'd be interested to hear which county or municipality, which telephone provider is saying that. We have a implementation team who's great at gathering that data, and that's not an objection that I've heard previously.
Todd, you actually want to chime in as well and let us know how you got landline list numbers for your exit?
Yeah, it was very seamless, really. We worked with Nixle, who provided us with a contact. Our number system, our numbers are maintained by AT&T, is our provider, and we reached out to them and had a little bit of a hiccup in getting the right person for our region. But when I say hiccup, I'm talking a day or two. We made contact with the right person, and they sent us a CD of all of the phone numbers and the information. We forwarded that to the Nixle team. They were able to go through and purge. One thing we did learn after we tested it the first time was our 911 center has like 16 phone lines coming into it to handle the 911 lines, and we didn't purge out all those numbers. So when we tested, we inundated the 911 with our test message. So we went back, we worked with Nixle and said, we need these numbers purged out. And within 24 or 36 hours, those numbers had been removed from the 911 center. So that's how we did it.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. So Scott, does Nixle have any functionality to combat the issues to supplement?
Sorry, the question is, do they have any...
Scott, sorry, our audio got broken up again. The question was, I'll read it out. Does Nixle have any functionality that allows you to supplement if you aren't able to obtain landlines or if the data is incomplete?
In terms of voice notifications, we actually do have a web registration form. So I mentioned Nixle.com is where residents can go to sign up to receive messages from your agency. Now, during that registration process, residents can actually enter a mobile phone, a home phone, and then they can actually determine if they want to receive messages on both of those devices or either or. So it's usually just as easy as telling your residents through some sort of outreach to sign up at Nixle.com, opt in to receive voice messages on your home phone. So that's worked well for our customers in getting users to opt in.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Next question is for you, Todd. Do you actually happen to run any other types of drills?
We do. In coordination with the National Weather Service during Severe Weather Preparedness Week, we activate on Wednesdays in Indiana. They activate the emergency alert system. So when they do that, we activate our phone, text, and email with that as a test. And then anytime we do an exercise, it's always part of the public information piece of the alert notification that we use it.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. The next question is also for you. How often do you test your system, and what is involved in that process?
How often do we test the Nixle specific system, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Really, we do it annually during our severe weather preparedness. We use the system, however, on a regular basis, so we know that it works. My contact information is built into almost every group. So if a message goes out, I receive it and I'm notified that the system was used. From a public relations standpoint, it's used probably twice a month, 3 times a month. From a meeting reminder or private group-wise, it's used probably daily. So to say, do we test it? No, we really don't, because we use it nearly every day.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Todd. Next question is for you, Scott. Is there any hardware that needs to be installed at a customer's location, or is it a cloud web-based storage system?
Yeah, it's entirely web-based. So it's referred to as a SaaS system, so software as a service, so entirely cloud-based, no hardware required.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. So next one's for Todd. So how was an exercise conducted, as this would not be a true emergency?
When we put out messages for the exercise, everything we send out, from the text SMS to the email to the audio, started and stopped with, "This is a training exercise only. There is no emergency." And that's very important. Now, if it was a text, it just said training exercise at the beginning and at the end because of the limitations on character size. But that's critical. And also, I'll add to that, we utilize the text, the email, and the social media piece of it on a regular basis. The telephone dialing piece, we save that for imminent life safety type information. Now, we chose to use it for the exercise for the active shooter because certainly had we not reached someone, there's potential life safety issue there because of it dealing with firearms and law enforcement. But as a normal course of action, day-to-day business, we only use the telephone dialing as imminent life safety. And that's just the decision we've made internally.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. So we're just about at 2 o'clock right now, so we're going to wrap this up. I just want to thank everyone for coming out to the webinar. Thank you for our presenters for everything they've said. So to let everyone know, we will be sending a recording and the slides to them via email, and a rep will follow up with any unanswered questions that we did not have the time to get to. So again, thank you all for coming, and have a nice day.